We think the Bible has always been the same, 66 books set in stone, but that's a lie. In the early centuries of Christianity, there was another book that churches read every Sunday. It was considered scripture. It was quoted by the church fathers. It was on the official list. It was called the Apocalypse of Peter, but then it vanished. The bishops decided to remove it. They hunted down copies and destroyed them. For over 1,000 years, we thought it was gone forever. Why? Because, while the book of Revelation describes the politics of the end times, the Apocalypse of Peter describes the punishments. It is a guided tour of hell that is so disturbing, the church decided you weren't allowed to see it. In 1886, a French archaeologist was digging in Akhmim, Egypt. He uncovered the grave of a monk from the 8th century. Inside the coffin, clutching a small book, was the skeleton of the monk. When they opened the book, they realized they had found the Holy Grail of lost scriptures. It was the missing text of Peter. It claims to be a first-hand account written by the Apostle Peter. It describes a private conversation on the Mount of Olives where the disciples asked Jesus, "Show us the signs of your coming and the end of the world." Jesus didn't just tell them he opened a portal. The vision begins not with darkness, but with blinding light. Peter describes seeing two men standing before the Lord. He says, "I cannot describe their beauty. Their faces shone like the sun, and their clothes were whiter than snow." Peter was terrified. He asked, "Who are these?" The Lord answered, "These are your brothers, the righteous, whose forms you desired to see." It describes a place outside of our world, a region of light where the ground blooms with unfading flowers and the air is filled with spices. This was the prompt for heaven. But then the vision shifted. Peter writes, "And I saw another place over against that one, very squalid." This is the first time we see the geography of hell. It isn't just fire. It is described as a specific location of punishment. Peter describes a great lake filled with flaming mire, mud sludge. But the most terrifying part wasn't the fire. It was the people. He saw men and women hanging by their tongues. He saw others hanging by their hair over the boiling mud. The text is brutally specific. It links the punishment to the sin. Those who blasphemed, spoke evil, were hung by the organ they used to sin, the tongue. The tour had just begun. Peter looks closer at the flaming mire. He sees a group of women hanging in the air by their hair. The text explains these are the women who adorned themselves for adultery. They used their hair to seduce, so now their hair is the noose. But the men are not spared. The men who committed adultery with them are hanging by their feet or their loins, with their heads dipped into the boiling sludge. They are screaming, "We did not believe that we would come into this place." It's a scene of total regret. The pleasure lasted a moment. The position of shame lasts forever. The scene shifts to a narrow gorge filled with darkness. Peter describes it as a place where evil worms like clouds of darkness are swarming. Thrown into this pit are the murderers. They are being bitten and consumed by restless, venomous beasts. But the worst part isn't the pain, it's the audience. Standing on the edge of the pit are the ghosts of the people they killed. The victims are watching their killers suffer, shouting to God, "O God, thy judgment is just." It is the ultimate confrontation, eternally watched by the eyes of the person you took life from. This next section is likely the reason the book was controversial. It describes a place of flesh-devouring birds. Here, Peter sees the souls of children who were born before their time, aborted or exposed. They are sitting together, crying out to God. Opposite them are their mothers and fathers. The text says, "A flash of fire like lightning shoots from the children's eyes and strikes the parents in the face." It describes a terrifying angel named Ezrael, who brings the parents out of the darkness just to be tormented by the gaze of the children they didn't want. It is psychological horror on a biblical scale. We often think sticks and stones break bones, but words don't matter. The Apocalypse of Peter disagrees. Peter sees men and women chewing their own tongues. Their mouths are filled with fire. These are the false witnesses and the liars, the people whose words destroyed reputations or caused pain. Because they use their mouths to spread poison in life, their mouths are the source of their torture in death. The text makes a brutal point. Your body is just a tool, and whatever tool you use to sin will be turned against you. Peter then sees a group of people dressed in rags that are filthy and falling apart. They are rolling around on the ground in agony. These were the rich, specifically the ones who ignored the poor. In life, they wore the finest silk and linen. They loved comfort. So in this place, their comfort is taken away. They are forced to roll endlessly over sharp, red-hot pebbles. The text says the pebbles are sharper than swords. It is a brutal inversion. Those who had the softest beds on earth now have the hardest bed in eternity. Next, Peter sees a massive spinning machine. It is described as a great wheel of fire. Hanging on this wheel are men and women who are being spun endlessly through the flames. These are the sorcerers and witches. The logic is fascinating. In life, sorcerers try to manipulate the natural order, spinning fate to their advantage. So in death, they are trapped on a wheel that they cannot control. They are forced to spin forever, dizzy and burning, unable to find their footing or focus their will. Perhaps the most exhausting punishment is reserved for the idolaters, those who worshipped statues or demons. Peter sees a high burning cliff. Horrifying demons with dark faces are chasing men and women to the edge. They force them to jump. The people fall, crash to the bottom and burn. But it doesn't end there. The demons force them to climb back up the cliff just to throw them off again. It is a loop of terror. It represents the futility of their faith. They put their trust in false gods who couldn't save them, so they are doomed to repeat the same fall over and over again. This is where the book gets controversial. This is likely the real reason it was banned. In the Ethiopic version of the text, Peter is horrified. He starts crying. He asks Jesus, "Lord, have mercy on the works of thy hands." And Jesus gives a shocking answer. He hints that in the end, if the righteous pray hard enough for the sinners, God might unlock the gates. He speaks of a rain of mercy that could eventually cool the fires. The church fathers didn't like this. They wanted hell to be final. They wanted it to be a deterrent. The idea that there was a back door out of hell was too dangerous to teach, so they buried the book in the sand. Before the vision ends, Jesus gives Peter a warning about when this will happen. He points to a fig tree. He tells Peter, "As soon as its shoots have gone forth and the boughs have sprouted, the end of the world shall come." This is the standard biblical prophecy. But the apocalypse of Peter adds a terrifying twist. It warns that in the last days, many will come saying, "I am the Christ." It warns of a specific deceiver, the Antichrist, who will perform miracles to trick even the righteous. The punishments you just saw, they aren't just for ancient sinners. They are prepared for those who fall for the final lie. The vision closes. Peter is left standing on the mountain, shaking. He now carries a burden no other human has. He has seen the map of the underworld. He knows exactly what happens to the tongue of the liar and the body of the adulterer. Jesus commands him, "Go and preach the gospel to the city of the west." Peter isn't just preaching love anymore. He is preaching survival. He knows the stakes. He knows that hell isn't a metaphor. It's a machine, and it is waiting for anyone who slips. So why did the church ban this book? Some say it was because the text was unverified. But historians suspect a different reason. It was too specific. The punishments were so gruesome, and the hint of ultimate mercy, the rain that cools the fire, was so controversial that the bishops couldn't control the narrative. They wanted a simple story. This book was not simple. It was a nightmare. So they buried it in the sand of Egypt, hoping it would stay dead. But truth has a way of digging itself out. The Apocalypse of Peter was read by Christians for centuries before it was erased. It forces us to look in the mirror. If your life was judged today, if your tongue, your eyes, and your hands were weighed against the things you've done, would you survive the tour? If you want to uncover more lost history that they tried to hide, click the subscribe button. And tell me in the comments, do you think the church was right to ban this book, or should it be in the Bible today? The archives are open.